Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of Florida Luxury Living, all things Florida. And we're talking today about construction, investments in Florida and in Southwest Florida. And I'm your host, Robert Dinan, realtor here in sunny Florida, expert in acquisitions, equity funding, and all-around real estate guru. We're sitting here today with Clay Henson from Henson Contractors. Thanks for coming, buddy. I know we've done a lot of projects together and some things over the years, and luxury builder in the Southwest Florida area. How long you been in the business, Clay? Let's let everybody know a little bit about you and your business.
So I've been here about 24, 25 years. Been in business for myself here for about, I would say, 18 of those years.
And you've seen a growth in the business now with all the luxury builds. I mean, it seems that the luxury market's kind of exploded in the last couple of years. Is that the truth?
It's always been pretty busy for me. Kind of found a niche in the market, just the way that I've set up my company, the way that I operate. And, it's all word of mouth. So all of my business is creating a happy customer, then telling someone else, or someone like yourself, a realtor who says, hey, so-and-so's buying this property and this is the builder I use or work with, one of the builders. And, just word of mouth.
Yeah, well, your reputation is absolutely outstanding. You've really grown your business extraordinarily since, I think, the 2020 things that happened. So I know you have a really good stronghold on the luxury marketplace, especially in the Oaks Golf and Country Club. And you've done a lot of projects on the waterfront. So talk a little bit about what's different with a waterfront project compared to something that's non-waterfront.
So the biggest difference is, a lot of the properties that are waterfront require a state permit. And a lot of the state permits, if you're seaward of the coastal construction line, or if you're landward, then you don't need those state permits. But if you are seaward, you have to dry piles. We do a lot of auger cast piles. Finish one there on Casey Key.
And you were doing one on Minnesota too, right? There was just one you were doing, that big one on Minnesota Key?
That one was landward, but the ones that really kind of make it the difference is being seaward of that coastal construction line, because you have to do a deep foundation.
So talk about coastal construction line. What does that mean?
The coastal construction line is just set by the Army Corps of Engineers, and it's identified as if you build seaward of that, you are required to build at a certain elevation. You're required to have deep foundation. So you have a company come out, geotechnical engineer. They come out, they do soil borings. You have to follow their guidelines on how to support the foundation. And then all that information goes to the engineer architect so that they could design the structure to withstand storms or power surges.
So that's why we're seeing a lot of these houses that are the build-ups now, where you're having the garage below and the houses, for lack of a better term, as a neophyte in the building business, on stilts, right?
Yep.
Is there a certain height that you have to build now when you're talking about waterfront properties? Is there a particular site? I mean, I know there's a build-up that they do as well, but what happens as far as? You
have to build at a certain level. Flood maps, there is kind of a flood map, flood design, flood elevations, usually +1 from the flood map. It really depends on where you build. You have to just look at the flood maps set forth by FEMA.
So you are using the FEMA guidelines then for this. Okay. And now what kind of projects are you working on, that you've seen right now in the luxury space? I mean, I know I was over to that beautiful one the other day. That's a fantastic property, by the way.
Thank you.
Big feather in your cap for sure. You could talk a little bit about that project. That's something special.
Sure.
But what are you seeing as far as new construction? Are you seeing people take the homes down to the ground? I mean, are people knocking the older homes down and rebuilding because they have to with these new rules and regulations, or what are you typically seeing?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of the homes that I am currently working on or just completing had a previous home on them. And these are the homes that are on the water that you just can't.
The Longboat Key, the Casey Key, the Bird Key, those kind of properties like that.
Yeah. So when you're right on a prime piece of real estate, it's right on the water and it's the views that you want, you're going to take down what's there that just is not compliant with flood elevation or what they want. Because insurance-wise, you have a hard time getting insurance on properties like that they're not built up to flood-based elevation requirements. And then the structure's so old, if it's below base flood, you have a 50% rule. So that it's easier, when you have the ability to just knock it down, build what you want. Everything is new.
For some of the people, I'm from up north originally. I know you're from the Georgia area originally, right?
Yeah, born in Alabama, Georgia,
Georgia. But, when we talk about homes, there's a lot of specifications, especially up north, when you're talking about homes that are historical and have historical value. So do you see a lot of historical properties here where you have issues with taking down those structures, or is it, if it's not to the current codes, it's pretty much you're good to go?
There are some historical areas that you got to be careful and you have to get proper approvals. But if it's not, registered place, and if it is a registered historical place, then you can
The typical customer of yours is probably not going to look at that property anyway.
Yeah, I think I've done maybe one of those out of the last 10 plus years, and you can get away with certain things on those properties because it is historical.
Mm-hmm.
But most people are buying a piece of property that's not exactly historical, that could be just demolish and build new.
And when you're talking about demolishing a property, what's kind of the base costs that you're looking at when you're taking down a home for people that are looking to build a larger home on there with the proper setbacks? What's kind of the normal pricing on something like that? What do you need to figure in as the builder, or as a someone wanting to build a luxury property? What do you kind of talk
I'd say,
to them about?
The good thing about being able to demo a property is they come in, they assess the property on what they can salvage. So they salvage things out of that property, which ultimately help with the cost of the demolition. So I would say on average, it's somewhere around 25 to 30,000 to demo a property. I'd say on average, that's about what we
figured into cost of doing something. Now, when you're doing the new builds and you're starting a new construction project, we identify a piece of property for the potential new homeowner. The house has been taken down prior to purchase, right? You meet the customer, you go through what they're looking to do and how they're looking to do it. What happens next? What are the steps? Do they talk to you, or they're talking to the architect or the engineer first, or what's the process that you usually advise them on?
So I always like to get involved in the beginning and help guide the ship, right? Because it is important to even sometimes get, like I'm doing a home right now, Casey Key, and what we did first is we got the decorator involved. And what she was able to do is to meet with the customer, identify how they were going to utilize the property, how they were going to utilize the house, each of the room sizes. Did they have kids? Did they not have kids? Did they have grandkids coming over? What was important to them, so that being able to then go meet with the architect. So instead of just saying, hey, just put together a structure for us that is not exactly what we're looking for, we're going to have to go massage different areas. It's good to do all of that up front and then create the structure or the design. And that's what we did. And that was a great approach.
You're quarterbacking from start to finish with these folks after they identify the property.
Yes. Yep.
Do you work with a lot of folks that come down specifically to work with you? Have you seen that happening now? The marketplace that you work in and the quality of craftsmanship, as well as your team. I've been on some of your job sites, and compared to other job sites I've been on, the guys are there, clean, neat. There's not stuff everywhere, bottles and drinks and, cigarettes. And it's a very well-oiled machine. That's obviously, again, another feather in your cap to be able to do that in a marketplace where a lot of people aren't able to do that. How did you make that happen for your business? With finding the right vendors, from finding the right architect, from finding the right, engineers, and then all the way down to the tradesmen themselves?
Well, I would say experience. And the time that I've been doing it, I've come across good guys. And when I come across good guys that do good work, they're respectful to the customer. They're clean people. They do impeccable work. I hold on to those guys. So I utilize the same guys a lot. And I've created some sort of being a niche builder that way. I can control their time a little bit better, or which projects that I need them to go to. And it's more of a concierge type builder. I'm able to meet with the customers more so. I'm the owner. It's nice that they can talk with me on a daily basis. And I don't just throw out a superintendent. Although I do have supervisors, they still get to deal with me. I don't run so many jobs that I can't manage the customers like they would want to be managed.
You've met and exceeded most of your customers' expectations. I don't know too many contractors in this space that have relationships with their customer after the job is done. And you do. You have relationships where they're even, you and your crew are going in and remodeling things after they've owned the home for 10 plus years.
Right.
That's a wonderful attribute for your company. When you talk about the concierge service and doing that kind of concierge service, I know you have a lot of projects going on. You're up early and home late. What do you think you're the luxury person looking to build in Florida besides concierge service? What's your other degree of separation there besides, we talked about your team, we talked about, everything that you have here. What's your degree of separation with your not only craftsmanship, but the products you use. I mean, you do some amazing, amazing stuff inside the homes themselves, especially the one we were just at over there in the Oaks. That was a beautiful waterfront property. So if you could just, talk a little bit about that, because I want everybody to understand about, how difficult it really is to find not only a quality builder, but a quality general contractor with a team that is managed so well that it's rinse and repeat over and over again for you. I mean, it's phenomenal. So if you could talk a little bit on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let everybody know what to expect from you as well.
Yeah. I think the biggest difference from me is I genuinely care, right? So anything that I'm doing as if I'm doing it for myself. If we're doing a remodel, a luxury remodel, we want it to look like it's always been there, and I'm doing it like I'm doing it for myself. And it's important to me that things are done right the first time. I don't want any callbacks. And so I like to eliminate that by doing a good job the first time. Everything I do is open book as well. So there's no hidden cost or anything like that to the customer. They know exactly what the costs are. They know what I'm paying for it, which makes it an open, easy process with the customer. A lot of things we're doing on the fly, out in the field, identifying. The customer brings me a picture. We do a mock-up or whatever we need to do to
maybe like the ceiling over there at that property. I mean, that was and the outside tile work up by the pool, around the pool. I mean, with the turf going through there. I mean, that's just some things you don't usually see.
No, not at all. These are definitely, in the top 5% of homes that you see for sure.
And what are you seeing the most that most people are doing now with the design of their home? What kind of style of home are people looking for? Are they leaning more towards, the bohemian style home or the coastal chic homes? Or, I know there's been an explosion of that kind of modern properties too in this space here in Southwest Florida. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I see there's definitely have a lot of demand for like a modern coastal clean line look. That seems to be the majority of the projects that we're doing. The one that you looked at in the Oaks, it's more of a traditional home with a lot of trim, a lot of stonework on the outside of the house.
That stonework was,
it's like second to none. You just don't see it. But it's what the customer wanted. They had some pictures and we were able to create the look they were after.
Again, back to that whole concierge kind of service for these people.
Yeah.
On average, the typical home that you're building, from the knockdown or dirt lot or waterfront lot, what kind of range of home square foot wise are you looking at? Are you looking at anything from 5,000 square feet up, or what's the typical? I mean, obviously the one that we were at the other day, the Oaks, is what's the square footage on that one?
Yeah, so that one was pretty close to about 10,000 living and pretty close to about 20 total.
It's just an outstanding property, that
Yeah.
property. Now, I mean, I know that's probably one of the bigger ones, right? The typical homes that you see for these luxury customers that are using you as their concierge builder, what's the typical size of home that they're looking for? I mean, are they still looking for the open concept kitchen? Are they still looking for, a lot of people from a lot of other places look for a lot of bedrooms, a lot of the homes up north, 5 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms. Are you seeing that kind of stuff still be prevalent in today's luxury marketplace as a builder?
Yeah, I've built for the professionally people that everyone in this room knows, a summer home or winter home actually, but 3,500 square feet, that's maybe total up to 20,000 square feet. I'd say most homes that I'm doing are probably somewhere around 5,000 plus living square feet.
Right. And when we're talking about living square feet, that's under air, right?
Right.
And especially in Florida has that whole indoor outdoor lifestyle. So when you're talking about, square footage of that one property being 10,000 square feet, under air, and then total of 20. So that total of 20, that encompasses non-air conditioned space, right? What else? Covered space outside by the pool?
The front entry, the pool area, the porch covered lanais. This particular house has, roll down screens on each of the lanais, but, both main and second floor level. The ground floor is all parking. So living is above, the garage encompasses the entire, ground level
of the home itself.
Yeah.
Now, I know everybody is concerned, right? Because the last couple of years we've been, hit with and water, and it's on everybody's mind. I'm sure it's everywhere for people who are looking in Florida, especially when you're close to the water as well, right? With most of the projects that you do, what do people have to do? I know we talked about, the houses have to beat your code and up to, stilts, on stilts, like I say. But what are you seeing with the hurricane standards? I mean, are the hurricane standards changing daily? Are you seeing people do more things with newer product that's out there that's making a bigger difference for the person who's building the home themselves?
It just seems like every so often they kind of change the basic wind speed design, requirements. So now it's 170 miles per hour, 3-second gusts. So it's throughout history, it's went from 130 to now it's up to 170. So there's different things, along with that, wind speeds and things like that. It's always evolved and will continue to evolve, right? I mean, even after storms come through, they always, look at the construction and see why it failed or where it failed and then make changes. I think that's just what they do as the codes, evolve and things change and they identify
what works, what doesn't work, whose brother-in-law's in the window business.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But in any case, where do you see the luxury marketplace going in Florida? I know everybody's talking about, on the real estate side. And, I know, Dan, you're in the real estate business too here. Everybody's talking about a correction in the real estate market space. I believe differently. I think there's going to be some changes, but I don't think there's going to be a black swan event like some people are talking about. How many projects do you have going now?
I would say new construction, we had about 13. We've just finished up a few homes. I think we're about 8 or 9 right now on the new construction side, and then probably 18 luxury remodel. In
those homes, you're seeing that typical square footage we talked about. Are you seeing anything different that people should know about, that if they are going to build a home, that's something that Clay says, if you can afford it, this is what you should do, or this is what you shouldn't do, or, here's some great attributes. I mean, I've seen some things where in homes that they have in the floor, you hit a button, you touch it with your foot and, vacuum is there. You can vacuum it right down the drain, right down the little vent. There's a bunch of different things that are out there on the marketplace that are luxury items. What do you see most of the people doing, and what do you feel, if you had to say, your top 4 or 5 things that you would suggest for people, can do list, but maybe not do list for some people? What would you kind of lean towards?
Well, I think it really just, a lot of it depends on the individual. Some people like, that central vacuum that rolls up into the walls. You don't have to worry about going and pulling the vacuum out of the closet. It's nice that they actually suck up into the wall now. There's just, the appliances being produced now that are just, really great appliances. We do a lot of Sub-Zero Wolf. It's probably what I do probably the most, which are very...
Well, that's the luxury space, of course.
Yeah.
Those are, must-haves, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things, like with your garage door openers, just the ability of audio, video, and things like that. You could control the thermostat, through your phone, being able to control, the audio, video through your phone, and being able to,
like we were talking about with Ryan earlier with his company, with his stuff that he has.
Yeah. If you want the house at a certain temperature when you get home or when you wake up to, whatever you want to do, I would just say that home automation things are nice. I think that's probably some of the biggest things that I think kind of bring things up to, Yeah,
I've seen the home automation for a lot of investors in the multifamily space has been very huge over the last couple of years, being able to do the climate control, being able to have access to units without having the key. And obviously for bigger multifamily spaces, the video TV and video surveillance is huge.
Yeah. Lighting control, it seems to be a big thing that a lot of people do. Audio, video, lighting, and just being able to live in the space the way you want to, be able to control things the way you want to.
As we're wrapping up, let's talk a little bit more about that indoor-outdoor living space. What are some of the things you're seeing people do with the pools that are more unique to the luxury marketplace than the typical, single-family home? What are you seeing that people are adding on or doing with their properties that most people in the non-luxury space are doing?
We do a lot of pools that have infinity edges to them. And I think that just sort of lends itself to the property itself, so you kind of get that water look. I think that's kind of nice. Sun shelves, bubblers, being able to do You know, I think the decking material, you know, the job that you looked at in the Oaks was porcelain. You know, so porcelain is kind of a new thing. You know, we're able to do porcelain decks now. And the one you saw, we actually left room for turf to go in between.
Right.
We did it on a diagonal, and it looks really, really cool. You know, deck jets, you know, different things like that that just really kind of add a little something to it. You know, you see that turf in between the pavers down Naples is where it seemed to
Naples,
get really hot.
Yeah, the Naples, the Miami area. You saw that years ago. I mean, and they before the turf, they were doing just regular St. Augustine, but you know, the turf obviously low maintenance, and you're good there.
Oh, it's great.
As we wrap up, I want to just ask you one more quick thing here. What is the best way for people to be able to reach out to you, to get the opportunity to talk to you about learning more about your company, learning more about what they're expecting from a build? How's the best way for them to get in touch with you, Clay?
I would say, you know, most efficient way would just be to call, you know, to call me or text me. It seems to be the way I communicate the most, or by email. Yeah, those would be the three best ways.
Okay. And we'll obviously share that as we wrap up the podcast behind us. We'll make sure we have information for everybody. Yeah, well, Clay, a pleasure having you here today. Again, I'm Robert Dinan, your Florida realtor, here with Florida Luxury Living Investment and Market Space here in sunny Florida. Looking forward to seeing you on our next podcast. Have a great day, guys. Robert Dinan, your Florida realtor.